Hi there, this is Donna Kozik. I am the creator and leader of the original Write a Book in a Weekend program, along with our sister program, Done For You Publishing. And this is one of my every once in a while reviews of a piece of good writing. I call it What Makes It Good. And this piece comes from Susan Baskin. It was published late last year and is called Love and Loss Among the Trees. And in case you haven't noticed, trees are kind of having a moment in writing. There's books about trees and essays about trees, including this one from Susan. So the link to the whole article, you can find it around this video. And I'm just going to highlight a few things that I want to point out about this. And the sustainability actually that Susan has throughout this piece is really just quite amazing. So she starts with, as if these times weren't tough enough, the tree in our backyard fell on the first day of the year. When I say the tree, I mean the tree, the only tree that grew out there. Over 100 years old, it had the stature of an elder statesman, commanding our attention and defining our backyard. First of all, just what a beautiful opening paragraph here. And she starts with saying, oh, first of all, a light use of italics with I mean the tree, and a good way to put extra emphasis on that word. I recommend using it sparingly, but I think it is well used here. And then also showing and personifying the tree, calling it, comparing it to an elder statesman, commanding our attention, defining our backyard, just wonderful ways to describe, so we can start picturing in our mind's eye not only the tree, but the importance of the tree in her life. Shocked as I was, I shouldn't have been surprised. I knew the tree was dying. About 5 years ago, my husband and I happened to look up at it and noticed a corner of the tree's upper canopy was bare. We called the tree trimmer, who called an arborist, who came over and examined the tree. The arborist told us the tree had fallen victim to a fungal disease common in Southern California. If we wanted, he could try to treat it. Absolutely, we said. This was our tree. So I'm not going to read the whole piece to you. It's quite lengthy, but again, these opening paragraphs. So one here that I wanted to point out is that she tells us where she's at without telling us where she's at. She mentions Southern California, disease common to Southern California. So we get the sense of place there. And then again, the love of this tree. At the very end of this paragraph, absolutely, we said, this was our tree. All right, so two short and punchy sentences right there. Really well done there to just, again, we're just having the feeling about this tree and how important it is. One more, these last two paragraphs, he couldn't tell us when the tree would die, but looking up at the highest leafless branches, he assumed it still had a few years. We could selectively trim the dead branches, but ultimately the fungus would infect the rest of the tree, causing it to die a slow, undramatic death. We followed his advice and trimmed the tree. And in a way, we all carry knowledge of the inevitability of death. We forgot about it. We love that tree. I love that tree. Throughout this piece, she's also weaving in this idea of loss, and it's being showed through the tree. And there's a few other mentions and things of that here. So she's intertwining this idea of life and loss in this piece. This is more than an essay about a tree, all right, or a couple of trees. This is it has a bigger picture to it. A lot of times I tell my writers to widen the lens. And this is something that she's doing here, where she's taking this idea of a tree and something that is important to her, her love of trees. And throughout the piece, she talks about different trees throughout her life, but then also putting it in perspective with the pandemic and then with the idea of loss and love right here. You know, we love that tree. I love that tree. So then she goes back to the beginning when she was a young girl and her first romance with a maple sapling here in the second paragraph in this section, again, personifying trees and making them human-like. My first romance was with a maple sapling. It was planted in front of the newly built house my parents bought when my family moved from the apartment in New York City to a suburb there. I was 6, pretty much a sapling myself, my limbs thin and lanky, all of me reaching moonily upwards, yearning to grow. Until we moved to that house and planted that tree, I'd grown up surrounded by brick and concrete. The maple tree was the closest I'd come to nature. Narrow and scrawny as it was, it held all the secrets and enchantments of the forest. Again, what you can just picture a 6-year-old and just being wowed by what we would look at as, this scrawny maple, but also the potential and then the connection that she has. And when you're 6'2", you're being introduced to reading and this idea of, secrets and enchantments of the forest and fairy tales and all that. And she brings that all to life here in this paragraph. All right, I'm going to, let me see here. Yeah, so then she's caught talking to the tree by a boy, and it just it just reinforces those ideas. I wanted to say here in this next section, how she grows along with the tree. The maple grew as I did, our arms and trunks lengthening. Both of us developed a shape, the tree's branches arching gracefully, while I developed a bust, a waist, and as with the dense crown of leaves, the tree had grown. My hair became thick and wavy, falling down against the now sturdy trunk as I rested my head under the summer shade. Beautiful, beautiful paragraph right here. Gave a personification, the intertwining of the tree and how a tree grows and a girl grows as well. Just so well done. And also what I really like here is how she doesn't oversell it. Here at the last sentence, falling down against the now sturdy trunk as I rested my head under the summer shade. She doesn't say under the summer shade of the tree's branches, just under the summer shade. We know where she's at. All right. All right, so then there's more with that maple, but then she grows up, gets married, and then we go back to the here we are. She grows up and gets married, and then has another tree, an avocado. I was living in LA by then and had loved other trees. An avocado as regal as King Arthur's mighty oak, its powerful limbs stretching out like the scales of justice. A towering Monterey pine outside our second home, under which I hold my breath as I swung my infant son from a chair swing we hung on a lower branch, while my daughter nimbly climbed higher and higher until she reached branches looking too delicate to hold her, compact and lean as she was. I like this, I kind of like transition to other trees, and then she's growing up, and now there's these little 2 saplings, right? That she is introducing to trees and the love of trees with the chair swing there, and then her daughter climbing trees and things like that. And then she brings it home with this next sentence. All of us love that tree. It spoke of permanence, of its and ours belonging in that home, like a beacon guiding us. As we turn the corner onto our street, my kids would crane their necks to see its sentinel rise, soaring above the rooftops and welcoming us home. And you can see the strength and the power of the trees is kind of shown in this almost like warlike language, commanders and, sentinels and things like that. But what I love about this paragraph, my kids would crane their necks to see it rise soaring above the rooftops. So that shows, it shows the kids' love, her kids' love of this tree too. I mean, they're going to welcome they're looking to make sure this tree is here to protect them and everything like that. And she doesn't say my kids love this tree. She says my kids would crane their necks to see it rise soaring. So that is really good. Then there's the pain of love when you have to leave something behind. And this is such good writing. When we had to sell, this is a great way. This is showing pain. All right. And a lot of times in writing, sometimes my writers get lost in describing pain, but you don't need a whole bunch of paragraphs about it, but 1 or 2 to show contrast to the love is good. So here's a couple paragraphs showing pain, kind of in a light way though. So let me show you. Well, we had to sell that house, leaving it in the tree. It ripped a hole in me, deep as a root system torn asunder. Okay, that's a painful sentence. I kept the key to the front door on my key ring for too long. And in the way one avoids an old lover who has cast you off, I never drove past it, although we remained in the neighborhood. While walking one day, a faint acquaintance, so someone she doesn't even really know, who knew we lived there, asked me if I'd seen the construction being done on the house. I shook my head and expressed no interest in it. Like she doesn't want to think about this tree. It's like something she's trying to put in her past, even though she's carried this memento of the front door key on her key ring. They took down the tree, she told me anyway. It's not there anymore. These two sentences are so good. This last one, I shook my head and expressed no interest in it. She doesn't want to know about it. They took down the tree. She told me anyway. This word anyway here is so powerful because, like, you know how it is when you're like, want to get away from someone, you really don't want to hear what it is they have to say. And she just used, instead of just, she told me, she said, she told me anyway. Even the neighbor or whoever it was did not pick up on the signs. It's not there anymore. She doesn't say I was devastated. She doesn't say, oh, the hole in my heart was made even bigger, or anything like that. She goes back into her story then of the elm, of the first tree that she's talking about that's dying and that's eventually going to fall, or that she said fell on the first day of the year. So here she describes the tree falling and, or two massive limbs following. So this is going to be like the end of the tree is coming. Her husband says, I told you it would fall one day. Then she was like, I didn't want to believe it. There was some new growth and things, but it was happening anyway. And then we don't get until here the name of the tree. It was a Siberian elm, a name patently unsuitable for the Southern California resident, a non-native transplant as I was. So again, just talking about this tree and giving it how it adapted and things like that. So here is the part I'll kind of close with here, and that is the cutting down of the tree. In the days after the great boughs fell to the ground, we called our tree trimmer again, who came with the arborist. Can we trim it back, we asked? Lose the dead branches as we did before? We pointed to the still remaining limbs on which leaves were growing. There must be something, we implored, something we can do so that the tree won't be a danger. The arborist shook his head. The tree had to come down, he said. Our tree trimmer agreed. Was it finally the fungus, we asked? The arborist shrugged. Trees are like people, he said. They die. So just again, such a powerful sentence or a powerful paragraph right here. The hope that they have, can we save it? And how we feel again with the loss, the people loss that she's giving a nod to in this piece, how we're like, oh, we'll do anything. Is there anything we can do to save this person? Or in this case, this tree. And it's like, trees are like people, they die. So she brings that home. All right, so this is the piece. It's just so amazing here. A tree cutting crew came later that month at exactly 7 o'clock one morning. The sky was cloudless, a storybook blue. It had been cold that week, and as I slid the glass back doors open to greet the crew, I felt the nip and chill of an LA winter morning. In the weeks leading up to the crew's arrival, my husband and I continued to sit in the yard. We were wary of the tree now. We moved the patio furniture to the side of the elm, still blooming with leaves, avoiding the section where the limb had fallen. This is kind of interesting, where it's all of a sudden like the tree earlier, a couple of branches fell, and it could have, if it was hours earlier, her husband could have been killed because he was sitting in a tree or sitting in a chair that the limb had fallen onto. And it's interesting how sometimes too, again, like people, it's like we're going along in our love relationships and all of a sudden they do something and it's like, I don't know if I really, care for you as much, or I'm more frightened of you now. And that's kind of what she's showing here with this tree. She's talking about, she didn't sleep well. She felt the mounting tension awaiting an execution and all that. And then she describes, this is just such a beautiful description of the work of a tree trimmer. And try to do this sometime. Like pick a job that you see somebody doing, the garbage men, or the grocery store clerk or something like that, and try to describe it. And you'll find that it's kind of difficult, but here she is describing it. As the work began, one of the workers buckled a harness around himself and attached a cable to the belt. His saw hanging by his side like a sword, he tossed a rope around an upper limb and climbed up to a strong neighboring branch where he wrapped and clipped the cable to secure himself. Legs astride, he steadied himself and began his sawing. A high-pitched drone filled the yard. That is such tight writing, it's Hemingway-like. You don't see a lot of adjectives, adverbs, anything like that. She lets the nouns and the verbs do the work in this description. The highest branches came down first. Delicate and light, the twigs fell to the ground in a gentle ballet motion. Like a slow strip tease, more dancing. All right, we have ballet here, slow strip tease here. The tree trimmer worked his way down from the leafy top smaller branches. Gradually at first, then completely, the tree lost all its leaves. Without them, it looked exposed, humiliated. Again, giving the tree this personification, humiliation, all right? As the limbs got thicker, the saws got longer. Sawdust spewed, forming a dense cloud as the trimmer sawed down to the larger limbs. A gash appeared on the trunk, a wound where each limb had been. Once sheared, the mighty limbs would swing wildly from the rope tied around them. I can feel for her. I like trees, but I don't love them, and I don't love a tree like she's loving this one, that she is watching being dismantled. And the description of, again, the personification, the limbs would swing wildly from the rope tied from around them, their motion slowing, they'd be lowered to the ground where they land like a body of a fallen warrior. Again, there's that language that she's using around this tree. There, the limb would be dragged like a corpse to a wood chipper parked in the alley. I thought of Hector, the Trojan hero, his great warrior's body dragged by Achilles through the dusty streets of vanquished Troy. Above the back brick wall, I saw the dark stream of wood spewed out by the chipper. This wasn't written in one draft, right? She worked on this piece, and also she has written a lot and read a lot, bringing in another story, reminding of Hector and the Trojan hero and Achilles and all of that. Bringing that in, that's what makes this writing so rich. And whether it's a book or an article or something that you're doing for yourself, I encourage you to every once in a while pick one and you're like, I'm going to make this great. This is going to go beyond good is good enough. This is going to go great. And you can use some of these same techniques that Susan did in this piece for your own writing to make it great. Again, she just kind of goes over again, limb by limb by limb, limb by limb. So then she ends with something about herself. I am someone who yearns for permanence and can sense loss in the fleeting moment. I hold on to things, keys, trees, homes, my children's baby teeth. I have come to learn that as many kinds of love exist, so it is with loss. A broken promise, a towering tree, a home housing a family's unfolding life. Who can say what is too long to hold or can separate the love from the loss? Now, here's an advanced writing technique that she used here. This whole piece has been about trees, but when she's starting to wrap up and she is giving what I learned from this, when she's giving the message from this, because this is what we do when we tell stories like this, then we give an insight, usually at the end, like she's doing here, but she backs away from the tree. She widens the lens. And the way she does that is by putting the reference to trees in the middle of the series. I hold on to things, she says, second line, keys, trees, homes, my children's baby teeth. One word, one word, one word, trees are in the middle, and then my children's baby teeth. So it's a longer thing, but the item is just like in that series, the rhythm works so well. And then she does it again. I have come to learn that as with many kinds of love exists, so it is with loss. A broken promise, a towering tree, a home housing a family's unfolding life. All right, again, a towering tree in the middle. So now we're getting away from the tree, we're getting more into the life. She makes a reference to an epic poem here. Yeah. And then again, it kind of ends with what's coming next. All right, what's coming next, and talking about, and as the cycle of life goes, we're going to plant another tree there. And then it says, a day will come when we will plant a tree where that stump, the tombstone, now sits. Rest of no more, the elm's soul will return to the earth, its long tentacled roots entwining themselves around the new tender ones, imparting an awareness of all it has ever known about air, soil, light, and water, so that the young tree will flourish and grow, and that tree will outlast us. So again, cycle of life, the new intertwining with the old, the past generations sharing what they know with the young generations, all found here in this wonderful paragraph. Great piece from Susan Baskin. She's written for the LA Review of Books, Los Angeles Magazine, Los Angeles Times Magazine, has written for film and television. Susan Baskin, about the love and loss among the trees. And thank you, Susan, for writing that piece, if you ever see this video. And thank you for learning with me about what makes it good. My name is Donna Kozik. I'm the creator and leader of the original Write a Book in a Weekend program, along with our sister program, Done For You Publishing. You can find out more about that at doneforyoupublishing.com. And then I look forward to seeing what you have to write and seeing you in the bookstore.